What was the most surprising thing?
Right? We have to attack the fat. And
how quickly you turned around?
uncompromising and what would work.
Any change in your energy? Any change in your sleep?
I have more energy now than I did before.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Ask Nutritionist Deepa's Real People, Real Health Heroes videocast, where I get to share stories of amazing patients who have taken health in their own hands and have decided to transform their health and go from feeling sick, tired, low productivity to feeling refreshed and just full of energy and being extremely productive in their personal and professional lives. And today I'm going to introduce you Mr. Sean Collins, who pretty much took his who dared to took his decisions about his food and his lifestyle in his own hands, and let's hear the magic that happened and how he did it. So, Mr. Collins, Sean, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Deepa. It's great to be here. Just call me Sean, please. Thanks.
Of course.
Thanks.
So, Sean, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what was the triggering point for you to take control of your health.
So I'm a 66-year-old husband and father and lawyer. I work very, very hard. Probably I had been working 80 to 90 hours a week, not sleeping particularly well, not eating well. I was doing pretty good on exercise. That's one thing probably I was doing okay on. And I'd gotten to a point, Deepa, where this is so perverse. I was actually that I could do this all with such poor sleep habits and not taking care of myself, I viewed as almost a badge of honor. You know, how strong I must be to be able to cut all these corners and get away with it, right?
Yeah.
And leading a very high stress life, you know, I was just inundated in that kind of existence, right? And I'd gotten used to operating on no sleep and eating poorly, and you think you're just going to get by. Well, and then last November, November 6th, to be specific, I was exercising down in my basement and suddenly just fell off the equipment.
Wow.
And realized within moments that I had lost the ability to speak, and which is my stock and trade as a lawyer. And my wife realized this and got me to the hospital right away, where they diagnosed that I'd had a stroke. Some blood clots had traveled up into my brain and affected that part of the brain that allows me to speak. And so I was in the hospital for the better part of a week and trying to figure out everything that had happened to me. I started to slowly regain my speaking ability, and doctors were telling me that my stroke was a very freakish thing, and I was generally in pretty good health. And I knew, having had a stroke, I knew I wasn't in good health, or that would have never happened to me. So immediately, I started to formulate a plan for how I was going to get healthier. And I don't mean just a little bit. I'm talking about the healthiest I've been in decades. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was determined to accomplish that goal.
I see. So, when you left the hospital,
Yeah.
obviously you were shaken a bit that how you were probably not surprised because you as being a smart human being, you knew that lifestyle had something to do, even though you had ridden on it for a while. You had a good stretch. when you left, what kind of prescriptions they gave you, for obviously for medicines, but anything to do with diet or lifestyle, or did anybody even thought about connecting the dots there?
Well, the thing that made me most concerned about the medical advice I was getting in the hospital and shortly after that was there was nothing about diet and nutrition. Nothing. They were very good and very comfortable in talking to me about medication and surgical options, right? And
Hmm.
doctors and hospitals and drugs and pharmacies and so on. Now, I accepted that in the short term, some medication might be appropriate, but part of my determination was I don't want to live on medication. I have to do something. And so, what the idea I immediately came to was for the first time in my life, I'm going to learn to eat the right way in a very disciplined and healthy way. And I'm going to see if I can not only get off the medication, but my goals were bigger than that. What I wanted to do was take complete control of my health. I knew I had to lose weight. I wanted to do that. I wanted to sleep better. But I felt that the key was going to be learning how to eat better in a sustained way, a way that I could um, have for the rest of my life, not just a temporary weight loss. I wasn't interested in that.
Hmm.
I want something for the rest of my life. So I began searching for ways to do that.
Hmm. And did you come across books? Did you come across YouTube videos? What effort did you do? How did you end up contacting us?
I came across you, is what happened. All right. I was researching specifically
Hmm.
for a dietitian, nutritionist, for nutritional advice coming from someone who had experience with people who had heart attacks and strokes, because I think that's different than just say nutritional advice for an athlete
Hmm.
or for someone who doesn't have these life threatening problems. I wanted someone with that experience. And so I went online looking for someone like that. And the thing that impressed me most about you and led me to reach out to you was all of the comments that you had from patients, many of them with cardiovascular problems, and some of them with quite serious cardiovascular problems and strokes and heart attacks, and your approach to them and how thoughtful it was and how grateful they were for what you had been able to do for them. And so I said, okay, this sounds like something, someone I need to speak to because maybe this is the answer. At that moment, I wasn't sure, of course. I hadn't even met you yet, but I knew that was something I had to investigate because here was someone treating food as medicine for people who had gone through a health crisis like I had.
So, when people go in search of food as medicine or diet, so to speak, they have some ideas, because there are so many diets out there. There are misconceptions or norms about, hey, protein diet, cabbage diet, eating salads. Did you have any idea what were you expecting?
In my past as an adult, I lost a lot of weight a couple of times, but never kept it off. And so I knew about some ways that wouldn't work because to me, losing weight isn't really the goal. Getting healthy is the goal. And if weight loss is a part of that, then what is necessary is that it be sustained and sustainable
Hmm.
weight loss. So I didn't really know the way. I didn't know the right formula. But having had a stroke,
Hmm.
I was prepared to listen to whatever a smart, experienced person would tell me. And I was prepared to change everything. I did have a sense when I really thought about it after having had a stroke that I wasn't eating well. and that it was probably responsible for my lousy diet, was probably responsible for, at least partly, for my bad sleeping habits and for the way my body was handling stress. In other words, it wasn't well equipped to handle stress because I wasn't giving it the nutrition that it needed in order to do that. And so I was prepared to make drastic changes, but I needed to find someone who knew what she was doing and could guide me because I was going to listen and make the necessary changes.
So, Sean, I must say you came in with this determination. To date, I remember that you said, "Just tell me what to do, guide me along, and I will do whatever it takes to reverse this condition." And and then obviously we met. And what was what was the most surprising thing that that came across when we spoke? Because my approach is not exactly traditional, right?
Um, what surprised me, but what I was looking for
Mm,
was the discipline of it, and I'll say in a positive way,
mm,
the uncompromising nature of it. I
mm.
remember you telling me we have to attack the fat, right? We have to attack the fat, and so everything you eat has to be with that in mind because that's part of what got you into the problem you got into. And I remember every now and then I would ask you, well, what about this and what about that? And you would say in a very nice way, but you would get to the same bottom line. There's fat. That's the enemy we got. And so there was a real discipline about it. And I felt for the first time like I was getting the truth. I felt finally now I'm talking to somebody who can counteract all the I was about to say a bad word, all of the baloney, all the false information that I'm getting that's around us. You can't get shed of it. It's everywhere. False claims about how nutritious something is or how little fat or sugar it has. All these horribly false claims that are so misleading about our food supply. And finally, I felt I had met someone, you, Deepa, who could tell me truthfully what was good for me and was doesn't. And that's why I kept saying to you, and I still say to you today, just tell me what to do. I will do it. I will do it because, well, for one, it works. We haven't gotten yet into how thoroughly it has worked, but it has really worked. And I was confident from the beginning because you were so confident and knowledgeable. And these were things, you weren't making these things up. You were citing studies and books and other professionals. So there was a real scientific and medical grounding to what you were telling me. I'm a lawyer, an environmental lawyer, and a lot of my life is surrounded by medical studies and science. And I've learned what I can trust and what I can't in the environmental field. And through you, I learned what I can trust and can't in the food field. And it's very sad and disappointing to think about how badly we're misled as Americans about the safety and lack of safety in our food. But the great thing about meeting you, Deepa, was finally I had a source of food truth, if I can coin a term, food truth, and what was
Abs-
true about food and what was not.
Absolutely. And then, Sean, um, describe to us that, you know how your previous diet was, and how quickly you turned around. I Obviously, as you just mentioned, that I didn't even give you much time to transition because you came to me after having a stroke while exercising. I mean, this can't get serious than this, right? I mean, there was no grace period to say, oh, we'll transition out slowly, because who knows how many other clots are being formed as we were speaking. and had potential to travel through your system. So we were in the process of obviously reversing the damage, along with preventing another heart attack or a stroke, which could have happened if I had given you bit of a leeway there. So to give us an example of what kind of foods you used to eat.
Well, I think you said you can have 5 minutes to transition. And then you looked at your watch and said, go. You're no, I'm kidding with that.
Yeah.
But so what I had been eating, and remember, I exercised a lot, sometimes twice a day, and that I could do that vigorously gave me the illusion that I was healthy,
Hmm.
right? And what I had been led to believe, when you're exercising a lot, your body needs a massive amount of protein.
Hmm.
And so I ate a very protein heavy diet,
Hmm.
lots of red meat, bacon, sausage, steak, a lot of eggs, just anything that had protein in it, I thought was good because I thought that's what my body needed, you
Hmm.
know? And the thing I appreciated about you was you were just, as I said before, uncompromising in what would work and the requirement that I follow it if I wanted to get myself out of the problem that I got myself into. You know, that was such a confidence, such a certainty that this is the way out of the forest you've gotten yourself into. Now follow the light and I'll get you out of here, is what I felt was happening.
Correct. And then you went from the land of eating chicken, fish, salads, and then we worked on a meal plan, and tell us, you told us about your before story. Tell us about your after story.
Well, one of the great things about working with you is you gave me, I'm sorry for my phone ringing there.
No.
You gave me lists and graphs, so there was a lot of specificity and detail about what I could eat, what was safe to eat, and what would provide my body the nutrients that I needed. So there were, of course, fruits and vegetables, lots of vegetables, but also beans, lentils, every potatoes, just a massive number of choices that you gave. That was one of the really good thing. I could have as varied a diet as I wanted, and information that you gave me to give to my wife Meg, who helps prepare. I shouldn't say helps. She prepares most of the meals at home and she's loved it now and she's eating the same way and she's much healthier now because so she was doing all this work for me and helping me and she's helping herself in the process. I was surprised at the extraordinary number of healthy choices I had and that it wasn't a limited list of foods that is okay to eat, and I didn't like everything, but I have to say I like most things. And there's nothing like having a stroke to make food taste differently, right? If you know you put food in your mouth and you say, this is going to help me not have another stroke, right? And that's all you need to learn to appreciate the taste of that food at that minute. And I'm laughing about that, but there's something quite serious about that. Your taste buds change. I ate a lot of pizza. I loved pizza. If you put a pizza down in front of me now, I wouldn't eat it. And
Correct.
not because of discipline, but because I don't have an appetite for it anymore. With your help, I've trained myself out of that kind of appetite. I've taught my body, I feel what's happened is I've taught my body to like foods that nourish me and help me, not foods that slow me down and clog me up and risk damage to me and create other problems like problem sleeping or managing stress.
So
So,
tell us how eating whole grains and
yeah.
vegetables and fruits and your beloved potatoes, all that in unlimited quantity. We never talked about portions. We never talked about measuring your food or counting calories. None of that. You have this license to eat right
Yeah.
foods, basically. How has that helped with your weight, your numbers, your sleep, your stamina? Please tell us that.
So the extraordinary thing, let me just get to the conclusion right away and I'll back up and explain it. But since my stroke on November 6th, and we're speaking now on the April 26th, right? Not even 6 months out from my stroke. And I have lost, as of this morning, 45 pounds since my stroke. And this will sound unbelievable, but it is true. I lost 45 pounds without trying to lose weight. I just ate better. And you're right. It was extraordinary to me that I could eat as much as I wanted, as long as it was on the DEPA list, right, of foods, which is a very long list and gives me lots of choices. But as long as it was part of a whole food, plant-based diet, then I could eat as much as I want until I was satisfied. In fact, you told me that many times, that I should eat until I was full. And you never gave me a limitation, only eat one potato, right? Or only eat so much of this or so much of that, or measure how much oatmeal and only have this much, and never said that. Eat as long as you're eating the right things, eat until you're full.
Correct. And then, how about your blood pressure numbers? What happened with your medication prescriptions? All that, cholesterol numbers.
Well, within a couple of months of being on the DEPA plan, I had a some blood work done, and it was actually in February of this year. And I went into my doctor's office after I had the blood work done, and he's laughing. And I said, "What are you laughing about? Don't you remember I had a stroke? What are we laughing about?" And he said, "I've never seen blood work this good. My cholesterol, well, my blood pressure was, if anything, low. My cholesterol was low. All of my readings were in the range that you want them to be in. Some were on the low end. In fact, like cholesterol, for example, was so low, 106 was my total cholesterol, was so low that the first thing the doctor said is, we've got to really minimize the dose of the statin you're taking, right? That was followed very quickly by, within a matter of weeks, of getting me off of the blood pressure medication that I was on, because the risk was that my blood pressure would go too low. The doctors had felt after my stroke that my blood pressure was too high. That's why they prescribed the medication. Well, I started eating in a healthy way, and over a course of a couple of months, I was surprised how quickly it worked. I not only started to lose a lot of weight, but my blood pressure just plummeted to a point where now my doctors were concerned that it was too low, and so I needed to get off the medication, which I was happy to do because, as I said a little bit ago here, one of my goals was to get off these medications. I never felt, I understood why at that moment I had to have them, but that immediately caused me to think, not for long. Let's get off of these things.
That's phenomenal. Any change in your energy? Any change in your sleep?
My energy, which was never terribly bad, has uh, increased. I have as much energy to do everything that I want to do, which is critical because I'm not anywhere near retiring in any sense of the word. I like to work. I find the environmental work I do, we sue polluters is what we do, and try to stop them polluting the air and the water, and because that hurts people. And that work energizes me. It feels very useful to me. It requires a lot of energy. I'm a father to three daughters in their 20s. I didn't know years ago how much energy would be required to have children in their 20s. But those who do know exactly what I'm talking about. The stress doesn't go away. The hard questions don't go away. The need to love doesn't go away. The need for both them and me to love doesn't go away. And my relationship with my wife, I look all around my life and I need energy and vitality to do the things I want to do. So, if anything, I have more energy now than I did before. One huge area of improvement is my sleep. I'm embarrassed to say what my sleep patterns were like before. I would probably average 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, and it was not unusual for me to get no sleep at all. And here's the dumbest thing about that. I would brag about that. I would brag about how little sleep I needed. How stupid, right? Um, what about now? Last night, for example, and this is not an unusual night, I slept uninterrupted 7 hours. Now, that may not sound like a lot to some people, but if you reflect on where I was just a few months ago, and now I can sleep restfully for 7 hours uninterrupted, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. A massive change, which I attribute to very significantly to diet, to weight loss. All these things travel together. They go hand in hand. When you eat right, when you lose weight, good things start to happen. And it's not just eating right is not just about losing weight. It's about giving your body the most efficient and healthy form of fuel that it needs to do the things you demand of it, right? And so, not just about losing weight. So, a lot of good things start to happen when we put things in our bodies that our body wants and needs and responds well to.
See, Sean, you connected a very you brought a very huge point to the conversation here is that motivation piece. Why this is important to you from personal reason. You want to be there for your daughters and support them in what they are doing. You want to be there for your wife and support her and love her the way she loves you and have supported you. And it's as much as we love our kids and family and friends, being sick puts a huge toll on everybody. You know, you can just imagine what your wife must have gone through when she saw you fell down from the exercise machine on on that day in November. It's not something that she will be ever able to wrap her head around and uh, uh, laugh about it, right? There's always going to, she had that fear, but seeing you kind of make a change and not just stay in that position and say, oh well, I had stroke and I'm under doctor's care and I'm taking statins and I'm back to my exercise to some extent and I'm eating salads. You could have stopped there, but you did not. You went above and beyond with her help to achieve what you have. So that motivation, that why is extremely important. So what would be your message to those who are sick, who are tired, who have tried everything, but are still hesitating. They are still not believing that nutrition can really turn things around, and it's not a life sentence learning to eat right foods. And so what would be your message to them?
Well, I would give them the tough love that you gave me. Don't tell me you've tried everything if you haven't changed the way you're eating. Then you haven't tried the most important thing. Then everything else is really window dressing. You're
Mm,
kind of tap dancing around the edge of all this. You have to change the way you eat, and you have to have good information about what healthy foods are, and you have to put together a plan that you will sustain. That's where the motivation comes in. What I would say to anybody is you never want to experience the having the stroke was not physically painful for me. Emotionally, though, I remember my wife, and she didn't want to show how worried she was, but a couple of times I caught it
mm,
because I know her. And it hurt me. It made me very embarrassed and upset with myself that this person I love and have built my whole life around, that I scared her like that. I remember my youngest daughter coming to the hospital emergency room to see me. And when she saw me laying in the bed, I saw just she started to cry uncontrollably. And
mm,
I had been this person of strength to her, always there and tough and ready. And now I'm prone in a hospital bed. And suddenly she's confronting thoughts like, is my dad going to die?
mm,
And is this person who had been so important in my life, not in ways I always appreciated, but who had been so important in my life, am I going to lose him? Lose him either permanently, or is he going to be diminished in some way that
mm,
makes him a different kind of person? And seeing that pain on the face of my child and the fear in my wife's eyes, I will never forget that. That feeling will never leave me. And so I would say to anybody, but beyond the mechanics, the vital mechanics of learning how to eat better and committing to do that, you need to find a reason. And I would say this simply, that you don't ever want your spouse and children or anybody you love and care about to ever have to look at you the way that my family had to look at me, so vulnerable and in danger, especially knowing that I was in danger because I had caused myself to be in danger. I had something to do with that. It wasn't like something happened to me that I had no control over. You must accept that you have control. You must determine to do everything you can, if not for yourself, for the people you love and who count on you, right? And then when you're properly motivated in their interest, if not even your own, find the plan and stick to the plan.
correct. And like I always tell patients, that what we are doing is simple but not easy, because we live in this world of misinformation and all sorts of diets and these illusions that there is a quick easy way to restore your health. Well, there is a quick easy way, but it may not be the right way. And we live in this era of medications and surgeries and crash diets. Therefore, stories like yours even make me really believe more in nutrition, because now these are just uh, person after person is just getting well. But with every one person I treat, I know there are 10 hundreds of them who are missing on this information. So stories like you hopefully will help me spread the right message. And obviously you are doing a good job of telling others as well. I mean, uh, look at your wife, and your wife, your daughters, and hopefully their friends and family down the line. It's a ripple effect. Our society needs that snowball effect right now when it comes to health and nutrition.
And there's something very empowering about realizing that it was food that got you into trouble, and it's food that can get you out. You know, you don't have to beat yourself up over what you've done in the past. You need to recognize that if there are bad things going on in your health, it's because probably what you've been putting in your mouth for years. But the recognition that you have control of it and you can choose to put different things in your mouth and get a completely different outcome as a result. Food got you in, food can get you out. If you let it,
Absolutely.
if you
Yeah.
give it the chance. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly right. What people want is they don't want to give up the bad food that has gotten them into trouble, because to some extent it's almost like a food addiction, right? I mean, you are addicted to salt, sugar, and fat in that processed format to get that dopamine hit. So along the same line, how do you handle the social situations or eating out or parties or any of that? Any tidbits on that?
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love those situations because I have a different attitude about it. You guys should be embarrassed to be eating the way you're eating around me, right? I'm doing is something good for myself. You're eating all that slop. So I make a joke about it. So that part of it is fun.
Yeah.
Um, uh, the serious part of it is when, on the rare occasions where we go to a restaurant, I make sure that is one I've researched ahead of time and it has something that I can safely eat
Hmm.
within my plan. You know, I make sure of that. The uh, it's really hard to overstate this business about how eating differently um, can cause you to change the foods you like,
Hmm.
right? There are all kinds of foods where at a party a year ago, a holiday party, say cookies and all kind of stuff, right? I would have eaten it and not given it a second thought. If I were at the same party tonight, I could be in a room full of cookies. I wouldn't eat any of them, not because of extraordinary discipline. I just don't have a taste for them anymore. I
Hmm.
have a taste for the foods I'm eating now and the things I know are doing something good for me.
That's amazing how taste buds change. In fact, I remember the day after we met, you had your office's party. It was Christmas party, and, and we spent some time talking
Yeah.
about how to navigate through that. It was literally next day. I think we met on Thursday, and your party was on Friday because all this happened during holidays. So now, what is your favorite meal for dinner or for lunch? What do you eat?
Um, my wife makes a couple of meals that I could literally eat 3 times a day. And she makes fun of me for that because I don't need variety if I really like something. So she makes a spaghetti with um, whole grain pasta and spaghetti and a, a sauce with all kinds of just chock full of all vegetables, mushrooms, beans. It's spectacular. It tastes great. I know I can feel it as it's going in my body. It's really healthy. Potatoes,
Yes.
you got me going on potatoes, and I have potatoes now probably with 5 meals a week.
Wow.
Um, because they're just so good for me and I like them. I like them so much. So um also she makes a chili with a lot of the same ingredients I just described in spaghetti. I love it. What I also found, and I even reached out to you, Deepa, about this not too long ago. I found that there's something in tomatoes
Yes.
that helps my speech. I said at the top of the show that my stroke had impacted my speech. And I've gotten much, much better. But one of the things that helps me is to have tomatoes for some reason. I don't understand. I don't know if I need to, because it works. So I prefer for that reason, prefer tomato-based products. We look for beans, lentils, to put them in just about everything. That flax seeds. There's a lot of foods which are enormously healthy, good fiber, protein, other great things that you can have as a part of every meal. You can dress up any meal with really healthy stuff. It's not hard. You just make sure that your refrigerator and pantry has all these things easily available. Part of our eating habits have to do with what is in reach, right? So just make sure you have good stuff in reach, right? It's honestly not that hard. What you need is that reason. You need that reason that will sustain you. And if you haven't gone through something as harrowing as I did, think about going through something as harrowing as I did and what that would feel and look like, because I promise you, you would be extremely disappointed, bordering on ashamed of yourself to know that you could have avoided it had you taken better care of yourself, which starts with eating the right way.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for sharing your real experience, and the true story, the true transformation about about your health. And it's not like it took you years to get here. The incident, your stroke, happened November 6, 2023, and we are April 26, 2024. But that transformation has given you extra mileage on your life, and most importantly, quality of life, and that's where it is all worth it. So Sean, thank you so much for coming and sharing and trusting us with your care. And I cannot thank your wife really for supporting, because having a support is equally important part of the of this pillbox, so to speak. Because we need support. I mean, that's why these are called 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine: nutrition, physical activity, stress management, sleep restoration, community support, and abstinence from addictive substances. And when all these dots are connected, we get nothing but health. And again, it's a cheap, easily available solution that people have. They just need to learn to master this skill. And it is not a straight line. A lot of people have a lot of barriers, but all those can be overcome with support and guidance. So Sean, if you have any parting message for us, please go ahead.
So support is critical. It was for me. I imagine it would be for anybody trying to do what I did. I would say, especially at a time like that, when you've been through a difficult period, you're trying to climb out of it, or you're trying to avoid a difficult period, you need that support. You need to surround yourself with people who support you, and minimize your time, eliminate it if you can, with people who don't. People who take seriously what you're trying to do. And what I found, I was concerned in the beginning that my family not necessarily wouldn't support me, but wouldn't understand what I was doing. What I found was the opposite. Not only supported me, but they were inspired by what I was doing. It's like, oh, this is working for him. This is working. I should try it too, right? And so you can give that gift to people, all right, if you make a good example of yourself. It's a wonderful thing to be able to teach the people that you love and care about that there's a safe way to eat, which leads to so many other healthy things in your life. So thank you, Deepa, very much for showing me the way to do it. I really appreciate it, truly do.
No, thank you so much, and I wish you more health and wellness to you and your family. And we'll touch base again. Thank
We
you.
will. We will. Thank you.